activated.
There's a place at the end of the
road. 2018 GSL Season 2 Overgrowth. 2018 GSL Season 2 Codes Overgrowth.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another day here at the GSL.
Hey,
it's good to have you here. I had to turn my voice up.
No problem. Tasteless. Do you want to have a little competition with me? Let's do our best James Bond impressions.
My hand is broken again from clicking too much on my mouse. So I'm a half man today.
You are.
I'm the Jamie Lannister of esports. Anyways, you are here at the GSL, and it has been a fantastic tournament so far. We are now going to the second half of the round of 8, and we already had a crazy day on Wednesday. It was Maru versus Rogue. Maru actually came out on top, which was very impressive. With aggressive style, actually broke Rogue really before he could get started. Classic versus Byun was a wipe. Byun also with hand problems.
Yeah.
Proving that him and I are truly spiritually connected.
Truly.
What is that? What is
Both
that show?
you have gray hair and
Sense8. When he plays the game, my hand breaks.
That's true.
So today it's a mirror matchup day. It's going to be Zest versus Deer, and then TY versus GuMiho.
Yeah, it's actually really a fantastic day as far as mirror matches go. Zest and Deer, two top Protosses of the past. And, I would argue that Zest has always been there, but he hasn't had the results to back it up as much recently.
Well, also, Deer's path to get here is something else that's worth noting. He was the player who was completely underestimated in his group. In fact, there was memes going on about the fact that he was like a deer in a Wolves.
Yeah.
Wolves group, but the fact that he's gotten this far and he overcame that group of death is crazy. So he's got a good shot.
정말 단단하다. 찌르기를 했을 때 잘 먹히면은 진짜 굉장히 유리하게 갈 수 있고 좀 안 먹히면은 진짜 성욱이 형 같은 스타일한테는 그냥 무난하게 질 수도 있는데
일단 저보다 먼저 우승을 경험한 선수이기 때문에 제가 뒤에서 쫓아가는 입장이었기 때문에 많이 보고 배운 것 같아요. 그 날카로울 때는 되게 날카롭거든요, 범준이가. 그 찌르는 그런 게 날카로운 게 있어가지고 그거는 본받아야죠. 너무 자신의 그 전투력을 믿고 막 무리하게 싸울 때가 있더라고요, 가끔 보면. 그걸 좀 고쳐야 될 것 같아요.
근데 성욱이 형 요새 좀 폼이 안 좋다 보니까 아무래도 좀 찔리지 않을까 싶어요. 좀 너무 똑같은 것만 한다? 약간 그런 느낌이죠. 하는 것만 한다? 사실 근데 막 그렇게 친한 편은 아니어서 그렇게 잘 모르긴 하는데 그래도 저는 성욱이 형은 굉장히 멘탈이 좀 강한 것 같아요. 다른 사람 말 그렇게 막 신경 안 쓰고 그냥 자기 할 것만 딱 묵묵히 하는 그런 게 좀 본받고 싶어요.
이게 애들이랑 사적으로 교류가 없어가지고 다른 사람한테는 모르겠는데 인사성이 바른 것 같아요. 할 말이 없어. 조지명식 때 봤는데 약간 욱하는 성격이 있더라고요. 저도 좀 그러는 편인데 그걸 좀 고쳐야 될 것 같아요.
단점이요? 단점이요? 성욱이 형이 형이시고 몸도 굉장히 좋으셔가지고 단점은 없어요.
동준아, 일단 너를 만났을 때 항상 좋은 기억이 많아가지고 이번에도 좀 4강 갈 테니까 다음 시즌 노리자.
성욱이 형이 이때까지 저만 만나면 거의 이기셨는데 이번에는 저 좀 이겨야 되지 않을까요? 제가 이기겠습니다.
2018 GSL Season 2. Godas. Overgrowth.
네, 첫 번째
We're now going
경기의
to go to the
주인공
interview segment and see what our
선수가
players are
양옆에 나와
thinking.
있습니다.
Before we start our
안녕하세요.
match,
네, 안녕하세요.
hello Zest, hello,
안녕하세요.
hello dear, hello.
네, 자 먼저 2연속 8강에 오른 주성우 선수입니다. 바람대로 백동준 선수 만나게 됐는데요.
Zest, you made
자,
two
준비
consecutive
잘하셨어요?
quarterfinals. Now you're facing Deer. How do you feel?
항상 뭐 시즌 들어가면서 연습을 꾸준히 해왔고 표전 돌려가지고 그 뒤로 생각.
I always prep hard before I start the season.
나쁘지 않게 한 것 같아요.
네, 인터뷰에서
particularly in mirror
백동준
matches, I
선수가
try to think a lot
오늘은
about how
제가
I'm
좀
gonna play, how my
이겨야 되지
opponent's gonna play.
않을까요? 하는데 그런 모습 보시고 어떠셨어요?
So in the
영상으로.
interview video, Deer said
저도 이제
he's supported for him to win today. How do you think you're going to be able to win today?
이번에 4강을
Well, my survival is obviously most important.
갈수 있겠더라고.
I'm going to find a way to do that.
어림도 없다.
제가 올라가야죠.
If I
그렇군요.
find a way to make the
어림도 없다고
semifinals.
합니다. 자, 죽음의 조 비조를 1위로 뚫고 온
I'm
백동준
certainly gonna go all the
선수 26강에서 저그전을 증명해 주셨다면 이번에는 프로토스 전입니다.
Dare you survive first
준비
in the
잘
group
하고
of
오셨어요?
It's a PvP mirror
원래는
matchup.
잘 했다고 생각했는데
Did you prepare well?
보니까 너무 긴장돼가지고
Yes, I did.
좀 불안하네요.
네,
네.
Although I will say I had a
인터뷰에서
little bit of
굉장히
anxiety
착하게
once I came into the
말씀하신 것 같아요. 자, 주성우 선수에게 예전에 딴딴몬이라고도 하시고 이 푸푸전 개념을 많이 배운다 이렇게 칭찬도 하셨는데 요즘도 그런가요?
Before you mentioned you learned a lot from
그래서
Zest.
워낙
About
그
Protoss.
클래스에 있는 선수가
What's your take on him now?
그래가지고 많이 배우고 있고 그래서 오늘도 좀 배운다는
I think he's a very solid player.
임하려고요. 네.
와, 배운다는 자세로 임하겠다. 오늘도
there's still a lot I can learn from him.
말씀해주셨습니다. 주성우 선수 예전에는 푸푸전 기계란 말도 있었어요.
네.
요즘 그 페이스를 좀 많이 찾은 것 같나요?
Before you had a nickname, you're a PvP machine.
예전보다는
Do you think you can regain your form from before?
가지고 좀 운이 많이 작용하는 편인 것 같은데 동준이가 오늘 너무
I think there's some luck in this. It can be a bit of rock, paper, scissors in a PvP.
저 작전에 휘말리지 않도록 하겠습니다.
아, 알겠습니다. 자, 두 선수
But I
모두
think Deer's too nice to me in a lot of these interviews.
2년 만인데요.
Maybe he's trying to make me drop my guard.
마지막으로 한마디 들어보겠습니다. 먼저 주성우 선수.
Before we're going to start, is there anything you'd like to say?
4강 무대 간 게 2년이 넘은 것 같아가지고 다음 주에
I think I haven't quite made it to the semifinals, or I have not made it to the semifinals in the last 2 years.
이기고 싶습니다.
네, 자 백동준 선수도
And I have
마찬가지로
my next
간절하실
match is
텐데요.
going to come up
마지막
on
한마디
Wednesday, so I'm going to
들어볼게요.
win, and I just want to keep thinking
열심히
about going
준비한
forward and
만큼,
moving forward. And you, dear?
좋은 경기력으로,
I prepared hard.
이겨보도록 하겠습니다.
Hopefully, I can pull off
네,
what I prepared.
알겠습니다. 그럼 8강 2일차 경기
All right, that does it for our milk
시작하겠습니다.
toast interview
Yeah.
with our two players. All right, the most milk toast basic interview we've had here at the GSL.
Indeed. So,
I'll take it.
Okay.
The games will speak for themselves. These are two well-mannered gentlemen.
yes, they didn't really have a whole lot to say about each other. Don't know each other all that well and stuff. But as you can see,
This was not an MC with parting interview here.
No, certainly not one of those. I mean, they both kind of had a little bit of a bumpy road to get here, but here they are. Plenty of match losses and game losses on both sides, and both these guys, champions from the past that haven't had a lot of championships recently. But I mean, obviously both are in good form. Like Deer won that Group B, which was pretty impressive, even though
Right.
there was definitely some mistakes from his opponents and some sloppy play from himself throughout the season. And in the last couple seasons, he's had some really rough-looking games. But at the end of the day, again, it's whether you win or lose, and he has been winning. So you got to count that towards him. He's kind of one of the guys I looked at as very unlikely to be this far. But when you look at this matchup, a PvP against Zest, it's doable. He could get to that next round. PvT. If you prepare well for that, if you have those sharp timing attacks that they've been talking about in these interviews, what I'm trying to say, I guess, is there is a possible road for Deer to be the champion this season.
You cannot count him out. We've brought this up many times, but when he's this far in the tournament, it's always worth mentioning again. We never thought that Deer was going to win a GSL. He was one of the only Royal Roaders we've ever had here in the GSL.
Yeah, that's true.
He came. We had joked, what if that guy Deer wins the tournament? Then he actually did. He looked better than anything we'd ever seen before.
Yeah.
And he's stayed within the hemisphere of the best players. But he's here to reassert himself. Zest, same story, slightly different.
Yeah.
Zest was somebody who looked to be the absolute best Protoss and flattered out, I believe, right before BlizzCon, the actual BlizzCon itself.
Yeah.
People thought he might be the favorite and then ended up losing out after some previous dominance.
Yeah.
He's won 2 GSLs, and he's here to win a 3rd.
Yeah.
He was close to getting to that, like, rogue level, or he was on that path of domination, and it was like, how long is he going to stay up in this area? And it looked like it could have been for a while, and he floundered out for a little bit. But
there was at least a couple of years, I think, where he was the best Protoss in the world.
Yeah.
And I think he's actually, his actual level, I think, has always maintained about top 3 Protoss. And I know a lot of people give me flack for that, but seriously, go watch his stream. He's always like the #1 ranked Protoss on the ladder, okay? I got to bring it up, Dave.
He always mentions it, man.
I'm serious. Like, if you actually watch him play, you're like, oh, you're better than the other Protosses, whether you win or lose.
TLDR, Artosis watches Zest stream. All right, we're going into game number 1. Zest versus Deer. It's going to be crazy.
Another little thing I want to bring up about these two and what's really weird and funny, but hold on. Wait a minute.
Not yet. In the blue.
Zest.
Okay. It's really funny that we have a situation where either of these guys could end up winning GSL this time, and the bracket has a lot to do with this. The bracket's kind of funny looking, right? Because the real monsters
Deer.
that players like these you wouldn't expect right now to get past were either eliminated or on the other side of the bracket, right? Like this true monsters of StarCraft right now, of StarCraft 2, right? Maru, Rogue, Classic. I think you might be able to say someone like Dark, right? Like these players where if you hit them, if they're on a side of a bracket, you're like, well, you're not going to get past him, right? Like if Rogue is on this side of the bracket, I don't expect these guys to get past Rogue and win.
Right.
But now Rogue is out. Maru's left, Classic's left. The thing is, PvP, anything could happen, right? So what if Classic goes to the finals from the other side? One of these guys can go up there and beat him. Ha! Look at that.
You know what's funny about it is that I think Maru was the only player who could have beaten Rogue.
I think you're right.
I think that's correct.
I think you're right.
And so what's kind of weird about it is that, okay, so he knocks Rogue out, and that's that. That's what happens when you're in the bracket phase of a tournament. So regardless of how good Rogue is or who he could have beaten in this tournament, he's gone. The point is moot.
Yeah.
If you really want to talk about Rogue's skill anymore in the GSL. We have to wait until next season. But you're right. I think with both Zest and Deer, whether it's a PvP or even a PvT, I think any of these good Protoss players, if they prep right in a best of 5 or a best of 7, can take out a Terran player.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, okay, so this is maybe a slightly controversial thing I'm going to say, but I think most people generally agree, right? Like, there's a lot of people who could win this championship, but I think if we're going to do, like, true justice, to have, like, the right player win from this point, it feels to me like it has to be, like, a Maru or a TY. Like, if one of them takes it, or maybe Classic, right? If one of those, like, 3
Anybody
wins,
but Zest or Deers.
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I love these guys. I love Zest, man. He's been my favorite Protoss forever. But, like, and that's the funny thing about brackets, right? Like, it's like when Cyril wins WSIS, you're like, okay, at the end of the day, we have the right champion.
Correct, yeah.
Right? Crazy things can happen. Things can get upset, but Cyril won the tournament. And the same thing is here. It's like, okay, there's like 2 to 3 people left in this tournament that if they win, we can be like, okay, that's the best player, he won. You know?
Yeah.
But the thing is, at this point, it's anyone's tournament.
No, you're completely correct. I mean, I knew that Maru versus Rogue was going to be good, but I actually thought it was going to be Rogue taking it 3-2, 3-1, something like that. I mean, not that Maru couldn't take it, but I think it's just a reasonable guess, right? By the way, in this PvP, it's a Stalker opening versus Adept opening.
Adepts.
With Phoenixes coming up and a Nexus behind it.
Yeah, this is pretty wild. Look at this. He's going to be able to do some good work here. Actually lifts an Adept with his own Phoenix, but there's Phoenixes being made on both sides. This is kind of really cool to see. You don't generally see people open with 6 Adepts at the beginning.
Yeah, this is not at all an orthodox opener, and you can see it kind of caught Deer off guard a little bit. He's continuing to feed Adepts down here onto the map. These Stalkers are having a little bit of a hard time. If the Phoenixes were in here, this would be much harder to pull off.
Like, if those weren't there, he would have killed all the Stalkers by now.
Ooh, so even misclicking that one, he was actually trying to do a shot there on one of those Adepts, but didn't manage to get it.
So, wait a minute. An Adept is 25 less gas and 25 less minerals, so 6 versus 4. Right? What type of value is that if it's an even trade? That would be like 6 times 25, so that's 150, and then 6 times 25, 150. So actually,
It might be more of a factor of how much utility you have later on, though, with him.
yeah.
Well, how do you
It's just kind of
combo it with
an interesting thing to see from him, because if you cover up the name tags, you know, we're always talking about that.
Right. Does it
I'm
look
telling
like
you,
them
blue is
playing?
SOS.
Yeah.
For sure
That
it's
is for
SOS.
sure
In
the
fact, I got to
case.
turn around like, no, that is S playing down there. Okay.
So it's Phoenix versus Phoenix, although Zest had hidden his Phoenixes for some time now, and is actually getting a second Stargate. I don't know if he wants to show this now or if he wanted to wait until he had more Phoenixes coming out of that second Stargate, because that's really where the momentum picks up. Granted, his second Stargate started before Deer's did, so in some way that's a bit of a lead. You know, whenever you have 2 players going for Phoenixes, it's the player who chickens out of going Phoenixes that can oftentimes lose control of the game.
Yeah, you have to be so sharp with the transition into Blinker Stalkers.
Yeah.
Like, you have to nail it, because when your opponent gets more Phoenixes, his Phoenixes will demolish your Phoenixes, and then you'll be in so much trouble. Oh, look at this. He's camping the Stargate, but there are the Phoenixes up Deer. Very carefully making that Phoenix flower.
I wonder if he did that, again, just maybe a little bit too soon here. So his second Stargate's done, so he's beginning to get more and more Phoenixes out. But I think revealing those Phoenixes was, I don't know, maybe a little bit preemptive. I'm curious, though, to see, because now we see that once a Deer spots those Phoenixes, he makes his own second Stargate.
Yeah. And the thing is, his Stargate, he's going to be a Phoenix behind, I think, right? Because he was like a half Phoenix up or so, and now with the 2 starting, the double production starting ahead of Deer's, he should be up at least 1 Phoenix. But there's still these 4 Stalkers out, or 5 Stalkers
That's correct,
at this
and
point.
that's additional anti-air as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of a wonky PvP to start things on. It looks like Deer wants to start applying a little bit more pressure, by the way. He's pushing out with his Phoenixes being escorted by Stalkers of his own. Now, Zest has Stalkers as well, but it's still lower in numbers. And actually, I think Deer with a timing attack could actually win this fight.
Yeah, he's going to have to pull probes, Zest is, for sure, I would say. He's up by 1 Phoenix at this exact moment. Of course, we're closer to his rallies, so that's a big deal. But 2 Stalkers against 7 is a gigantic difference.
That's right. And you can see he's just staying out of range here. And as each Stalker comes up, every additional volley on top of these Phoenixes is huge.
Okay, so right now Zest is really trying hard to target down, and look at Deer running away, so the rallied Phoenixes have a hard time fighting. But the greater Phoenix number is such a big deal. Look at that difference.
You know, with the way the AI operates, it was targeting either probes or other Stalkers. It was not hitting the Phoenixes there of Deer, and Deer, I think in some ways, shot himself in the foot here.
Yeah.
I think this was just a little bit premature. And once the probes are pulled, you gotta back up, and you have to target fire the Phoenixes of Zest.
It's true, actually. It's better to let all your Stalkers die and win the Phoenix battle, because this Phoenix count is not something you're coming back from. Look at the Phoenix count right now, right? It's for Deer, he's got 3, 2 making at a time, and on Zest's side, I can't even count this. What is it, like, he's got like 6 or 7 with 2 making at a time. So it's like, well, guess who doesn't catch up here?
Yeah, and I mean, with the number of probes that have been picked off already, Zest has so much momentum. This actually might close out game 1 here.
Yeah, it's really looking good for Zest at this point. You see a few Stalkers being warped in. That's gas he can't utilize for more Phoenixes, and now we have some gateway units coming out for his opponent. Look at that, 10 against 6. It's very tough. Definitely some issues like you were talking about from Deer during that attack.
Okay, he's beginning to poke in here. Now, it's not clear if Deer is going to be able to get the Phoenix count ever to catch up. I mean, 7 to 11, that is just too great here for Zest. Keep in mind the probes are being eliminated in this process. He's actually transferring some more down here. And you know, Zest with a supply lead, I mean, this is a very straightforward, I believe, victory here for him. And see, Zest is doing what Deer did not do in that engage. Deer overstayed his welcome, and he ended up losing the fight, and that allowed Zest to have the opportunity to push out and actually pick his own fight.
And look, he's going up to a 3rd Stargate and a 3rd Nexus, and he can actually pull back at this point and just sit on a higher Phoenix count to win this game as Deer. Well, you don't do what Deer is doing, which is just being like, okay, I'm going to fight you with less Phoenixes. That's not generally a winning strategy, but what can he do? These are some of the most unforgiving games. I guess like when someone has DTs, you don't have any detection. That's more unforgiving because you instantly lose. But a situation like this where you just have less Phoenixes and they are snowballing it in every way, he's killing extra probes. When they engage, his Phoenixes will win by a huge margin. You know, he's getting his third base quicker. This is BAD bad for Deer.
Yeah, it's a very unforgiving situation. It's always funny when you do have two Protosses going here because you're suddenly playing almost like a different matchup.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the Phoenixes now are going to try to occupy the location over the Stargate. And look at this, Zest is just going to dive on this. Shaves off a few Phoenixes there. And it's now Zest with 3 Phoenixes coming out at a time.
And the Stalkers are just barely tickling in there, right? Even if they trade 1 Phoenix for 1 Phoenix, it doesn't matter. That goes well for Zest, especially considering now he's producing 3 against 2 at a time. All he needs to do is continually produce these and just kind of check every now and then to make sure DTs aren't being made, because that's like the only thing that could occur at this point.
And I think that's going to be it.
Yeah.
GG. Zest taking game 1 in a commanding fashion.
Yeah, it was really well done. Very interesting build with these 6 Adepts. I kind of like that. I'm very interested in the 6 initial Adepts because he only hunted Stalkers with them.
Right.
And it's like, I guess with the 6 Adepts, you know, a lot of times they'll have 4 Stalkers, but they might have something else, right? They might have gone like Stalker Sentry or 2 Stalkers then 2 Sentries, something like that. And in that case, the 6 Adepts feel like they can actually get even more done, right? The Stalkers might be the worst matchup for them, but if it's those other units, you might be able to get down there and kind of contain them a little bit, you know, pick off a probe or a sentry, and suddenly you've gained a lot of value. So, cool opening, cool finishing.
Eastwatch is going to be our map for game number 2. I don't know if we're going to have another Phoenix versus Phoenix game. That was, you know, in PvP, there's a blind spots in the builds, right? And there's a little bit of bluffing, a little bit of you having to have the right instinct. But when they're forced into that, it seemed like Zest played the right game. Let's see how Deer does in game 2.
Zest.
The Phoenix King.
Deer.
Needs a Phoenix down.
Oh, good reference.
Keeping my nerd cred real here. Yeah, it seemed like Zest from A to Z just had a cleaner understanding of that. It's almost as if we got some Deer support here, and he's going to need it, by the way, because that was brutal. Deer seemed to be cognizant of an advantage, but he didn't know how to leverage it.
Yeah. I'd say just the attack in general, I guess, the way that he dealt with it when the probes came out was what was off a little bit. You have to win the Phoenix War. The probe count doesn't matter that much, because if you win the Phoenix battle, right, and suddenly you have a couple more Phoenixes, or 3 more Phoenixes, or 4 more Phoenixes, which is where Zest was ending up, then you just go kill all your opponent's probes, and you've killed more probes than they've killed. By the way, just a very small thing, I haven't really seen this gateway placement that we see from Deer, because you always wall nowadays, but that's actually superior to regular gateway placements, because sometimes you have those weird situations where a bunch of Stalkers are at the bottom of the ramp volleying up.
Right.
You only lose 1 gateway this way instead of 2.
Yeah, it's actually
Almost,
It's very thought out.
Yeah, it's cool. Just a little change, but I will be stealing that. Thank you very much, Deer.
You know, there's always a chunk of people that are here more for themselves and their own game than for the sheer thrill of watching Star. You know, there's always some guy who's been losing too much and is like, I gotta wait for the next GSL to come out.
The only reason I have any value as a commentator is because I like to play.
This was how my entire career started. Was I thought, okay, if I could just get to a WCG World Finals, I can actually see the Koreans play in person.
Yeah.
It's going to solve a lot of the questions that I've been trying to figure out at home in Kansas.
I like it. Ooh, Adepts and a Stargate again.
Zest is onto something, man.
Yeah.
Especially in PvP. PvP is, I think out of all the matchups, it's fair to say has the highest rotation of different builds you have to do. You have to really come out with a variety, generally speaking, in PvP. But to see Zest do, we don't see this build very often, by the way, pretty much ever. So the fact that Zest is doing this a second time, I'm curious.
And this is what Deer actually said was his weakness, is he does the same thing too much. And this is something that we've talked about as well occasionally, is that Zest, he kind of figures out 1 to 2 strategies that he really likes and really masters those. And we see that all the time, like Archon drops in PvZ, right? He does that so much. But he comes out with new stuff as well. He's kind of the originator of the hidden double Stargate Phoenix, right? And he's the originator of this new thing, 6 Adepts. This is cool. Like, Deer is playing a more careful game, though. And the fact that he has the Oracle, right? He's going to go and be able to very easily scout with his hallucination what's going on. And with the shield battery, I think he'll be fine against this.
So Hallucinated Phoenix is coming out. The Robo build is going to be the choice here for Deer. So this is going to be a very different branch as far as playstyle goes in this PvP, as we have in a mirror matchup, players going for very much so opposite builds. I'm sorry, he started an Oracle and canceled it. Did you see that?
I thought he made 2 Oracles. I think he made 2 and that's it. If I'm not mistaken here.
I would have sworn. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Or maybe he started a 3rd Oracle. He definitely canceled 1 though.
Oh, okay. So maybe he started a 3rd and then said, "Nah, I'm just going to go with 2." Oh, this is kind of interesting actually.
Wow.
He targets down that. Oh my God! Look at what we're seeing here from Zest. This is actually awesome. Double Oracle in here with these Adepts.
He can go ahead and assassinate all these sentries.
These are valuable units. That costs a lot of money for Deer to get those.
With this many Adepts, oh my God! With this many Adepts, you know, the firing rate, the battery doesn't really help that much.
Oh, look at this awesome move. Shading in, shading out. And, I mean, he's forced a ton of the energy to go away. He's picked off an okay amount of probes so far. And some of these sentries.
Yeah, lost mining timing, everything else. 2 of those Adepts still get out. Looks like the Oracles are going to try to come in here again. Oh my God. Okay, nicely done. Not an Oracle lost. There's enough of a berth over in this area that you can hide those Oracles easily. And that's going to keep Deer pinned for now. If Deer leaves, it's risky business.
That's like really some worthwhile stuff. If you look at like what he's actually lost, just 4 Adepts for this much damage, and he's got like complete scouting going on, of course. He's misvolleying a little bit there for a moment, but look at this. He comes in, it's hard. Look at how many Stalkers he's forcing defensively out of Deer. I think this is actually a big part of his strategy as well. Because he already has his Robo up, if he just focuses on Immortal production, he's going to be in such complete control of this game. Constant harassment into the unit that counters what they have to make to stop you.
Right.
It's just, this is really well done by Zest.
Okay, and with Zest having his own Robo out, that's a real force against the Robo tech here from Deer. So pumping out Immortals is going to be the name of the game for a little bit. Zest still has Oracles out on the map. He's still able to pressure Deer. That all being said, Deer's done a fairly decent job of trying to hang on, considering how complex that harass actually was.
Yeah. He took damage, but like he's not that far behind. He's having to make a bunch of probes to refill in that. But it doesn't take long to saturate your 2 bases once again. Looks like Zest adding a lot of gateways. I don't think that this is for an attack right now.
No, I think you're totally right. I think what he wants to do is start to power up.
Yeah.
He wants to see, okay, Deer, are you going to try anything? And this happens actually fairly often in PvP, where the person who takes the 3rd base is usually at risk unless they have something really sophisticated, again, to leverage that position where if you leave your base, I'm going to come in there and kill all your probes. And it's going to be worse for you if you lose all your probes than if I have to cancel a Nexus. I don't care if I have to cancel a Nexus. But Zest is powering up, and that gateway explosion is happening way sooner here for Zest, in part due to the probe kills compared to Deer. You can even see his gateway explosion is a little bit smaller. There was actually 6 gateways. They're completing now, so it looks like 3 are making. But it's only 4 making here for Deer.
Yeah, and you can actually see that Deer is going for a completely different type of play here as well. It looks like he's going to be going into Disruptor Blink, which makes very much sense to me in this type of situation. I think he's correctly realized that he's in like a worse unit comp. If you're trying to go into the kind of more standard like Archon charge and you have a big Stalker base, and your opponent was kind of forced you into this, got those extra immortals, overall, your army is just going to be worse. That's it, just worse.
Not to mention, so he's hidden the tech very well.
Yeah.
So this big, beefy army that's going to come out here from Zest can be punished pretty adequately. I mean, these disruptors are going to come out of nowhere. From what Zest has seen, Deer just looks like a smaller version of what Zest has.
Yeah, it's like too many stalkers and stuff, but they go so well with disruptors.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Like, they're both playing magnificently this game. This is
This is
game.
Deer taking a bad situation and trying to turn it into an advantage.
Yeah.
This was probably not something that he had planned out way ahead as I'm going to hide disruptor
Yeah,
track. This is
I think
actually,
you're right.
this is a response to losing too many workers. Now, the disruptors are not, okay, there's one out, second one making. So it's a lot of this is going to come down to that first disruptor shot. Can he make it catch on all the zealots? Here we go.
Oh, that was a really bad disruptor shot, actually, unfortunately. Archon dropped into the main base during all this as well.
Oh, man, and now warping in these zealots.
Yeah.
And this is actually Deer possibly losing on two fronts.
I think he's pretty dead from here. Oh, my God. And just getting the Nexus, like...
And only getting that sentry, that's not going to cut it.
Oh boy. This is a very bad situation right now. Look at that. Okay, I mean, an okay disruptor there, but it's 3-base Zest right now. He's just in perfect shape.
With the Warp Prism here, in fact, these Archons could connect with a splash. Oh my God!
That would have been so gross.
That would have been so bad. It's the most Archon kills in the shortest period of time ever in GSL history.
It's like 30 probes.
Yeah.
3 volleys.
Yeah. So, I think Zest, intelligently so, just backs up. He's on 3 bases to Deer's 1.
Yeah.
All Zest has to do is macro, and in fact, there's still room to try to keep dropping, or this is sort of a ditch effort here by Deer to try to recuperate, but I just don't know if it's going to cut it.
Zest is on fire right now. This is just, he's playing so well. Look, I guess Deer can deal with this, but Deer has to do so much right now.
It's basically inconsequential that he lost his Warp Prism due to the position that Zest is in.
Look at this. Already having Stargate tech, he can just lift those disruptors to cancel the shots as well. Jeez. Zest is like Batman right now, man. He's just like, he's got his bat belt on. He's got all the tools he needs.
Yeah.
He's using your cell phone to spy on you, man. It's awesome.
He's decided to play God with Gotham just because he has a lot of money. He decides he knows what's right. You know, all that stuff. So everything that Zest has can easily dismantle what Deer has been going for. A pickup on the disruptors disables them in this game. That last sentry goes down. More immortals here for Zest. And we very well may be seeing Deer punch out with a GG. There it is.
Dude, this is a sick build by Zest.
Yeah.
You know what's very exciting about it? He's used the exact same build twice, and it was against 2 different builds. I'm starting to piece together everything I need to know about this to use it on the ladder, Tasteless.
Watch out, if you're laddering this week, you see Adepts, I want you to whisper Phoenix to yourself.
Something we live with every day.
Or Oracle.
Or Oracle, but Stargate Tech.
Stargate Tech. But that was really well done, and Deer's counter was awesome, too.
We've seen the 2 branches in the build, right? So far. So we've seen, okay, if you're going Stargate, then he doubles down on Stargate and just keeps making Phoenixes and uses the Adepts to chisel away at your own Stalkers.
Otherwise, it's mass harass with Oracle Adept.
Right. If he sees an alternate path he could take, then he's going to start getting Oracles. He's going to start getting those Adepts in there. He could target down that pylon at the entrance, negating the concept of blocking the ramp. Versus the sheer power, the damage output. He can actually break it. He can get in there. Let's see if he does it again, man.
I mean, this is the true mind game, though. Does he do it again? 3 times in a row? Does he do it? Does he show Deer that what Deer thinks is his weakness is his power?
Our map is loading up. Zest versus Deer. Right now, Zest with a 2-0 lead.
Fight! Zest.
Looking strong, 2-0, making it a quick day so far.
Deer.
A little bit emotional after that last loss. And I think he actually played game 2 really well, like really smartly to hide the disruptor tech, right? Like he took his weakness and turned it into a strength, but like Zest was just everywhere. He was all on top of everything, and Deer just not quite prepared.
Well, Deer is in an odd situation, right? Zest is, at least with the starting fork of the build, the starting branch, I should say.
Yeah.
Opened up the same way, seems to get a read, and then chooses where to direct the game. Thanks for coming down, guys. Hope you're enjoying the games.
Deer just canceled a gateway.
Oh, did he?
Did he? I thought I heard a cancel.
I heard a cancel, but was it actually the gate?
It was, yeah. I thought so. Okay,
So-
because he actually placed it a little bit too much to the left. It looked off to me. That's how off Deer is right now.
That
He
could
actually
be-
misplaced his wall, and that's when you can tell someone's stressed. Because,
Right.
like, there's nothing you do more often than place your first building, right?
That
Like,
means the
or
jitters might be kicking in.
Your first, like, 4 or 5 buildings, literally every game you ever play, you do it. So, like, if you don't have your pylon down or your, well, I mean, especially if you're Zerg, it's like
That's
you don't know
all.
where to put your spawning pool.
It's all supposed to be rote, like memory.
Yeah, it's automatic.
So, yeah, Deer's in an odd spot, right? Because he's at least lost to the same branching build.
That's intense.
Yeah. Whereas, Deer has not been able to respond to anything that Zest has done so far. Whether it be just tactical aggression coming in there and getting workers, whether it's a superior set of decisions that Deer is, or rather that Zest has made. So this is kind of scary. And Deer has to win 3 games in a row after Zest has basically been speedrunning this best of 5. So, I mean, that's tough. It's been done before, but I mean, Deer's going to have to grow several extra wrinkles on his brain to pull through with this.
But that might be what Zest wants him to do, Tasteless. He grows wrinkles, and then suddenly we find out that wrinkles are armored and the Immortals come out.
That's so funny.
The power of Zest. He's actually forgetting, by the way.
That's a true StarCraft joke right there. You have to be really...
You have to be a real
You have to
dork
really
like
watch
that
this.
one.
You have to really watch to play this game to appreciate that.
By the
Okay.
way, this is Zest really mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah.
He has gone for 4 gateways, and this includes an early sentry that he made, right? So I guess he's going to have a hallucination flying with that sentry and then just 4-gate him, right?
I think so.
There go the hallucinations. He doesn't see the
Oh,
3
no.
stalkers. He didn't see the proxy pylon either. Oh boy.
This is bad. When the whole purpose of this scout coming out was to try to find.
So this amount of stalkers, that Nexus is just gone. Deer has to evacuate. So already Deer at a disadvantage here. But Deer does have the Stargate. So let's see. I mean, oh my god. Yeah, I guess that's true. He only had 1 sentry, so he didn't have a force field.
Okay, Artosis, we might be getting our dinner early today.
Yeah, I guess so.
This is just too much. You know, unfortunately, Deer, he had an amazing showing in the round of 16, but...
Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
He even has the shield battery ready.
Shield battery, in this case.
Well...
I don't know what else to say,
Sorry,
guys.
Deer.
Yep.
Deer is pretty wide-eyed right now, looking over my shoulder at him here. He's can't be very happy with the results here, being
Check my
3-0
phone
by
here.
Zest.
What time is it? So we've only been live for about 40 minutes, and some of that was the intro and us
Yeah, more of it than
talking
the
on.
games.
Yeah. So,
Dude, these
That's
probes
gonna
are doing some work at least, right?
yeah, they're also dying.
Yeah, that's true.
So, let's see, the probe count now is 22 to 15. He's barely getting enough stalkers in here. Looks like he's going to hold off the initial attack on the high ground, but that's 10 probes down. There's more stalkers.
Hey, he has 2
warping out.
Nexuses. Does that make a difference?
Well, let's see if he will keep 2 Nexuses. I think he's going to lose control of the low ground
Do you
here.
think he can kill those 4 stalkers with these 2 stalkers and that 1 Zealot?
Well, there are shield batteries, Artosis, but most likely, yes. So he's trying to fish out the 2 stalkers and Zealot, because obviously Deer can't afford to lose the Nexus as well. And every time that Deer comes down, Zest fires
The
6 stalker shops.
The death move are these adepts that are being warped in. You just shade them up the ramp. There's no way that one of his 11 probes are at the ramp ready to make a wall. It's just not
good
happening.
point.
Oh, even makes a fake
Wow.
Colossus.
Styling on him. GG.
Well,
Okay, so that was our first best of 5.
whoa, Deer is incredibly upset here.
I respect that. I mean, if he had he came in here with a plan, and Zest is just too strong. He's just too much of a strong player.
Zest looked really good in this series, and I love like how sharply he turned his strategy on its head, right? Same strategy twice in a row. It was a very technical strategy, lots of multitasking involved, and then just goes for a 4-gate. It's like, oh, a 4-gate, you barely even see that nowadays. 3-gate pressure, sure. 4-gate though, he's like, nah, I just walk up the ramp with this. We just kill people with this build.
I don't know if this series is going to be much of an indicator on how the other games from Zest are going to look, because that was so dominant. I almost feel like we didn't get to see the full extent of what Zest had to offer.
No, I mean, I would have liked to see a full 5-game series here, but
Sure.
I guess that shows Zest brings out kind of a new
네,
style
부활의
and
수도탄에
dominates with it.
쏘아올린 2년 만에 4강 진출을 이룬 주성욱 선수 바로 만나보겠습니다.
Zest has been
축하드립니다.
revived again. He made it to the semifinals. Congratulations. Thank you.
네, 정말 풋풋전 기계라는 그때 그 말이 정말 잘 어울리는 경기였던 것 같습니다. 먼저
We can
진출
call
소감
you a
어떠세요?
PvP machine once again. How do you feel?
일단 최근에 푸푸전이 너무 가위바위보가 심해가지고
So recently in my
보기
PvP,
전에 걱정을 좀 많이 하긴 했는데 그래도
some of those games didn't go as I expected
해서 잘
in my practice, so I was a
오늘
little bit worried coming to
시간도
the
안
studio, but
걸렸습니다. 이런
I just tried to not
3대0
lose my confidence
순탄한
before the
승리
games. and I think that
예상하셨나요?
helped. Did you expect it to be a 3-0 that quick?
3대0까지는 예상 못했어요. 최근에도
No.
우리가 그래도 기세가
I did not expect a 3-0.
하더라고요. 그래가지고
Deer shows really solid games.
뭐 3대1.
So even though I thought I was going to win, I thought it might have been like a 3-2 or a 3-1.
네, 이렇게 프로토스의 그런 불사조 중심 운영 빌드도 만든
But I'm also
분으로
pleased
이렇게
with my,
알려져
complete
있고
shutdown.
이렇게 프로토스의 많은 빌드 선수들이 참고하는 걸로 알고 있어요. 이런 빌드나 아껴놓은 것들이 많으신지.
A lot of Protoss players have been studying your Protoss versus Protoss.
없고요. 생각 날 때마다 바로바로 쓰기 때문에
네,
저는 근데
I think it's less about my builds.
유진이나 준호와 다르게 약간
I think I just try to feel what works before I come in and try to.
네.
그래가지고 좀
I wouldn't say I'm like SOS or hero.
장점이지 않나 생각해요.
네, 오늘 워낙 스무스하게 또 이기시고
I'm
푸푸전의
actually more
그런
prone to have long
교과서다운 경기력을 보여주셔서 인게임 질문 드릴 것도 없더라고요. 오늘 뭐 어떤
They seem
자기
like
뭘
flawless
잘하는
games,
건지
like
지금
perfect
스스로
play.
말해볼까요?
일단
It's hard even to find any questions from your games.
집중력이 안 좋아가지고 뭘 흘리고 막
네.
자원 남기고
What was your favorite part for
그런
today's
경우가
matches?
많더라고요. 그래가지고
네.
최근에 좀
Well, there were some points in time where I think I lost my concentration. For periods, I was making some mistakes.
떨어지나 봐요. 저도 모르게.
네.
I don't know why, but I feel like every year,
연습을 많이 했고
네,
as I'm getting older, I feel like I'm losing my focus.
주성우 선수가 그 자원 남기시고
Especially in
이렇게
some
병력
later
흘리는 거에
games.
스트레스를
But today went
받으셨군요.
So,
그런 재미있는
I'm glad
사실이
it worked out.
있었네요. 자, 이제 4강은 테란전을 보여주실 차례입니다. 전태양 선수, 고병재 선수
So in the semifinals, you're gonna be
두분
up
다
against
특징들이
Terran.
있어요. 빌드의 비제, 뭐 빌드 마스터 이런 별명이 있는 선수고 또
Those guys have
한전에서는
very specific
난전의
styles,
비제 이런
though.
이야기가 있거든요. 어떤 선수의 성향이 더 맞을 것 같으세요?
일단
Which
제가
player do you think you'd be
생각하기에는
better
둘다
off
약간
against?
변태적인 스타일이어가지고
네.
둘 다 별로 좋진 않은데 그래도
So those two have very different, unusual
단단한
styles.
그런 면은 없어가지고 그래도 제가 좀 단단하게 하면 뭐 이길 수 있지 않을까 생각해요.
네,
But GuMiho at
아무나
times doesn't feel
올라와도
like as much of a
상관없다.
solid
그런
Terran.
말씀인 것 같습니다.
So
자,
maybe
주성 선수
him?
오랜만에 4강 무척 기대가 됩니다. 마지막으로 팬들에게 한마디 들어볼게요.
Before we close it out, anything you want to say to your fans?
목도로 4강을 못 갔는데 그래도 이번에 지금 현재가 중요하고
I haven't made it to the semifinals in about 2 years.
지금 바로 이제 또 집 가서
Since I made it to the semifinals,
결승 무대 밟도록 하겠습니다.
네, 알겠습니다. 다시 한번 4강 진출 축하드립니다.
I'm just going to go home and prep. I hope you guys support me. Thank you so much.
네, 이렇게
Gary
오늘
says
3대0
congratulations.
승리를 거둔 주성우 선수와 이야기 나눠봤고요. 계속해서 GSL 이벤트
that was really
안내해드리겠습니다.
one-sided, kind of surprising how well Zest played, even for me, who's just in love with the way that this guy approaches
Like
it.
I said, we didn't even really get to see what he was going to do in the grand scheme of things because he closed the games out so quickly.
Yeah, but he's been doing like very well strategically this season. When you think about it, right? He introduced the double Stargate back into PvZ, his own style of it. People have been copying that to great success. That's why Classic beat Dark, in fact. That's part of how Mana did well at WCS.
Right.
And now here's this other new build in PvP. Zest is on fire.
When we come back, we're going to go to our TVT, our second best of 5 in today's GSL Code S.